Well, Apple halting sales of some of its watches this week. The tech giant will no longer be selling the Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 following a dispute with medical device maker Masimo over its blood oxygen feature. And while its stock has rallied along with the other Magnificent Seven, it hasn't been easy for them sales-wise. Our next guest thinks Apple's strength is keeping users within its ecosystem while its competitors are winning in innovation. For more on how the tech giant is shaping up into 2024, Gil Luria, DA Davidson Managing Director, joins us now. Good morning, Gil. Over in your note, you called this an inopportune time for this to happen to Apple, particularly with this crucial holiday week underway. How do you see this sales glitch play out into early 2024?
So the impact to Apple isn't going to be that material. They've been able to hold off. They'll only need to take it off their own shelves December 24th. They're taking it off the website today, which means it's only a very narrow demographic that's actually going to lose sales. We're talking about husbands that waited to the last minute to buy their wife a gift, that instead of buying the Ultra 2, they're going to go to the other part of the mall and buy something else. That's not a lot of sales, but this is still embarrassing. It shouldn't come to this. These cases always get settled, and somebody decided to gamble on the appeal and not settle with Masimo, and this is an embarrassment for Apple. Again, the sales loss may not be material, but it's still embarrassing. They're going to have consumers confused. They're going to go to the store. They're going to want the Ultra 2 or the Watch 9. They're not going to be able to buy it. By the way, they can buy it at Best Buy or at other retailers, but they won't be able to buy the Apple Store. You never want to frustrate your customers. That's really going to be the outcome here. And it ties to a bigger theme of innovation that you touched on, too.
Yeah, Gil, as you're thinking about that innovation, is Apple stock still sexy if they continue to have this design mental block, as you call it?
You know, the iPhone hasn't really changed since version 12. There's only been very minor tweaks to it. That's the flagship product. They need to do more. The watch has had some advances, some cool new features in the Ultra 2, but the form factor hasn't really changed. You mentioned earlier the Vision Pro. The Vision Pro is really just a developer tool. It's not really a consumer product at $3,500. In the meantime, other companies are innovating with form factor, with folding phones, with glasses that have these augmented features, with AI pins. Apple has usually been a quick follower on these new innovative form factors, and right now it appears to be a little stuck. And for them to get revenue growth in their hardware business, they need to get unstuck on the innovation front.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Do you necessarily think that Apple needs to come out with a foldable handset like Samsung did?
Not necessarily, but they need to give us an iPhone that looks different. You can't have the 12, the 13, the 14, and the 15 iPhones look almost exactly the same, with very minor changes to the camera, to the zoom, to how the island floats. That's not enough to compel people to upgrade ahead of a phone breaking down. And unfortunately for Apple, fortunately or unfortunately for Apple, fortunately for consumers, iPhones don't really break down. They've become so rugged and so useful, even with the software upgrades that they get every year, that they need new reasons to compel people to upgrade. They can make the screen bigger, they can make it thinner, they can make it transparent. They need to do something with the form factor to accelerate an upgrade cycle.
And on that note, when you think about 2024, do you expect a strong uptick in upgrades? Or are people going to hold on to their phone saying, they don't necessarily need this right now? And could that hurt Apple sales in 2024?
I would expect that not to change from the current rate, which is not a very fast rate of upgrade. Let's not forget, they barely grew revenue on the hardware side. On the service side, they're still growing double digits. That's great. They have a lot of consumers in the ecosystem that continue to buy more and more from Apple on the services front as they get wrapped around by all the Apple product. On the hardware front, they really don't have that. It's true about the iPhone, it's true about the iPad. We talked about the watch. The Mac, the improvements are becoming increasingly incremental. So we expect them next year to have relatively low growth on all those fronts in a combined, and again, only get growth from the services business.
And so then what about on the operating side, which is largely considered to be that services business and where Apple can push out updates that involve generative AI, as we've heard even more talk and conversation about how co-pilots are going to be evident within our smartphones that we're walking around with on a daily basis. Is generative AI enough of a sales driver and a retention mechanism to keep people in the Apple ecosystem?
Apple is very good at keeping things from us until it's ready to release them. So they may have a big advancement in how they use generative AI in their products going forward. But right now, they're a little bit behind Microsoft and Adobe in introducing some of these features. Having said that, if you'll notice, autocorrect, autocomplete are getting better and better, which is really a use of generative AI. So they are sneaking in some features quietly, but unless they have a bigger reveal of an incremental capability that we don't currently have, AI isn't going to necessarily be a big driver of their product sales.
And Gil, really quickly, a potential ban of the iPhone in China is lingering a worry among investors right now. We're seeing Huawei ramp up their competition there. How does Apple position itself in 2024 in that market?
This is one of the main reasons they need to keep being more innovative. Unless their products are superior to the products from the Chinese players, they're going to have a hard time holding on to that high end. The Chinese government is slowly peeling off levels of iPhone by taking it out of certain government agencies, other type of government entities. And so they're going to carve off pieces of the market away. For Apple to continue to be successful in China, again, they need to have products that are far more compelling than Chinese alternatives, which are usually at a much lower price point.